They may not be the best transfers, they may also not be the worst transfers, but here are my 10 players to watch after making a summer move for the new season. First off, and there's Rodrigo. Now, yes, on his debut for Leeds United, he gave away a penalty with a couple of minutes to go that saw all of their efforts, well, not really account for nothing as they lost 4-3 to Liverpool. But it will be rather interesting to see where the former Benfica man fits in at Ellen Road. Now, when you look at his goal prospects, it's not really so positive. He scored barely 30 goals in the last 4 seasons in La Liga. Having said that, his movement off the ball is absolutely brilliant. He's got brilliant speed in behind, and well, the fact that Leeds United may have to play on the counter-attack more often than not this season means he could be a really valuable asset. It'll be interesting to see how this one turns out because, as I said before, some of his stats may not make the grade, but he may end up being a really key player. Next up then, and it's Trincao, and it's true that he's stepping into the first team of a club which is in, let's say, a little bit of turmoil this summer, but this could actually work in the Portuguese player's favour. Whilst there is still lots of pressure on the likes of Messi, Ousmane Dembele, Antoine Griezmann, Luis Suarez if he stays to produce all the goods on the pitch, it means there's a little bit less pressure on Trincao. On top of this, if you're talking about the next Messi or the next wonder kid to come out of the La Masia Academy, Ansu Fati unfortunately has to burden that responsibility on his shoulders. So with all the spotlight off the former Braga man, you could see him actually putting in quite a good few performances this season because, well, there's not really so much pressure, despite the fact that he cost quite a hefty price for such a young player. I don't think he'll be getting too many starts this season, but the minutes that he does get, especially in the cup competitions and against weaker sides in the Champions League, you could probably expect him to see him put in some good shifts. Now, the next one to watch is James Rodriguez, and I'm probably going to say that a lot more this season because, my word, if his debut against Spurs is anything to go by, Everton have pulled off an absolute wonder signing. James has got the ability. We've seen it. We saw it in the World Cup. We saw it when Real Madrid signed him and he went on loan to Bayern Munich. But it's just the consistency that has really plagued him over the last few years. Whether it's injury, not being in the team, or just not really being appreciated, James has never really fulfilled his potential from that 2014 World Cup. At 29 years old, he's back under his favourite manager in Carlo Ancelotti. He's definitely, clearly the most talented player of the Everton squad, and he's going to get a run of games in the team. This only serves to prove that he will be a brilliant player, and he is definitely, out of all the ones to watch on this list, definitely one to keep a strong eye on. Moving on then, and to Jude Bellingham, the next English player to make the big step and move over to the Bundesliga. But unlike Jadon Sancho went before him, things are a little bit different. When it came to Sancho, he was used sparingly during his first season, and that was fine. He was an unknown quantity, hadn't played in the City first team, and wasn't well known to the broader footballing world. And the relatively small £8 million price tag wasn't exactly such a big risk, so Sancho wasn't in the limelight, and he didn't have to hit the ground running. Bellingham, on the other hand, despite being so young, has been in the Birmingham first team at Championship level. He's been in the middle of a transfer tug of war with none other than Manchester United and eventually moved for around £25 million, so a little bit more is probably expected. At the moment, you can't really judge what he's going to do over the course of the season because the chances are he's going to get a few minutes here and there off the bench, and at the moment, there's not even any certainty as to which position he will play in this Dortmund setup. Personally, I think there is quite a lot of money for someone so young, but you're more likely than not to see more growth from him in the next few years than for him to, hit the ground running in his first campaign. Despite this, when he does get on the pitch though, definitely one to watch. Moving on and to one of the biggest signings of the Premier League summer, and that's because Manchester United splashed 40 million on Donny van der Beek, and unbelievably, I'm not even sure he's going to get into the starting 11. There's been a lot of talk about it, and you could say that, they spent so much money, of course they're going to put him in, but where? Where is he going to fit in a midfield three alongside Paul Pogba and Bruno Fernandes? Playing all three together is fine. They're very good footballers, and yes, they can do some defensive duties, but it's not really what they're on the pitch for. To put the responsibility of defending, or staying back, let's say, on Pogba or Van der Beek in a midfield two situation is really going to hamper their progress going forward. I mean, yes, as I mentioned before, they can do it, but it's taking something away from their attacking game, and that's where you want those kind of talented players to be, in the attacking area. Scott McTominay looks like he's the only real defensive one in the Manchester United squad, and when he plays, they're not going to have 4 central midfielders. Bruno Fernandes is obviously the number 10. I don't think Van der Beek is going to get the position off of him. and I don't think Fernandes is going to accept dropping back into central midfield and maybe having a defensive arm of his game as well. So it's going to be quite difficult for Van der Beek to even get into the right position, but I'm sure when he does, we'll see lots of magic from the Dutchman. Next up, and to Tanguy Ndombele, although you probably know him as Tanguy Kouassi. Now, the former PSG player rejected offers from AC Milan and from RB Leipzig to move to Bayern Munich on a free contract this summer, despite the fact he's only played 6 first-team games for PSG. The reason for the name change? Well, he basically just said that he prefers it because that's what his family calls him. Anyway, for the amount of game time that he's going to get, it's going to be difficult for him, but we may see him just get a shadow opportunity, especially with Martinez leaving the club, Boateng potentially on his way out, and David Alaba's future not even sorted yet. The French defender could be thrust into the limelight alongside the likes of Nicolas Soula, but it really says something of his ability when Bayern Munich give him a 4-year deal, as I mentioned, at just the age of 18. Continuing, and there's another big move and another sign that the Barcelona board have absolutely no idea what they're doing. We covered this earlier in the summer because that's when it happened, but Arthur swapping for Pjanic and a little bit of money just makes no sense. From a Barcelona point of view, that is. But Arthur moving into the Juventus midfield, this could be a big move for him. At the beginning, he didn't want to move. I mean, he moved to Barcelona and could see himself, and rightly so, as one of the future players in their midfield for the next 5, 6, 7 years. So to then be told that you're going to be sold and replaced with a 30-year-old, well, things weren't going so good, so it's obvious that he had to make the move, and honestly, I think he's made the right decision. He's moving to Juventus, who are getting rid of quite a few old legs in the midfield. But Tweedy's gone, Khedira looks to be on his way out, Aaron Ramsey, there's a question mark over his future, and anyway, he's probably more of an attacking player. But Arthur comes into a rejuvenated young midfield with the likes of Weston McKennie in there as well, and of course, Bentancur is there from last season too. He's literally stepping in to be a massive part of the midfield revolution at Juventus, and he gets to play with Cristiano Ronaldo as well, meaning that he's played with both Messi and Ronaldo. No doubt that'll be the question put to him later on in his career. But as for the season, I think he's going to have a brilliant campaign. I think Juventus are going to do quite well, and he's going to pick up a few trophies along the way. Back to the Premier League then, and in my opinion, one of the best transfers of the summer for Ferran Torres and Manchester City. They've brought in a fantastic player who's got loads of potential room to grow under a fantastic coach in Pep Guardiola, and best of all, he only cost £20 million. With Leroy Sané leaving the club, City have done really well to replace him with a player who, certainly in his first year, wouldn't demand as much playing time as the likes of Sterling, Mahrez and Bernardo Silva, as they are the first choice wingers. But Torres will surely shine when he has the chance. For those of you who watched Valencia last season, you'll know exactly what I'm on about, and even if you don't see the full package this season, you can be sure for a steady improvement over the course of the campaign for the Spanish winger. So from someone whose price tag was relatively small and maybe not so much pressure on him, to someone whose price tag is absolutely monstrous, and he is now Napoli's main goal getter up front, it's Victor Osimhen. After joining Lille from Belgian side Charleroi, the Nigerian striker scored 13 goals in Liga. Now, that's not too bad, but for a 21-year-old, he's got great potential, but by shelling out 70, potentially 80 million euros on him, Napoli have forced a huge amount of pressure on the kid. 80 million euros worth of goals in a season has to be at least 25 to 30 goals. Surely. I mean, if they do that, I can see Napoli firing themselves back into the top 4, back into the Serie A title race and having a really strong season. If not, and I know I talk about young players being given a few years, we could be looking at one of the biggest transfer flops in recent history, certainly after such a big move. That's the last thing Napoli need, only 1 year after spending 40 million on Irving Lozano, whose debut season in Italy was less than impressive. Finally then, we come to the last one on this list, and Newcastle's new front man, surely can't be more of a disappointment than Joelinton was. They paid over 40 million for the Brazilian striker, and he got just 2 Premier League goals last season. Callum Wilson's just joined the club and he's got 1 already. Although having said that, Joelinton scored early on in his Newcastle career too. Anyway, after all the disappointment of a takeover not happening in the summer, Newcastle have actually done a good bit of business. Callum Wilson's come in alongside the likes of Jamal Lewis and Ryan Fraser as well, and it looks like if they can get the ball up to him, and certainly if he plays in the front 2 alongside Joelinton and Andy Carroll, Wilson will be able to put the ball in the back of the net. The thing is with him, as long as he stays fit, he'll be good. And that's pretty much been the story of his career in the Premier League. He's only hit double figures once, and despite that, and the fact that his stats are quite low for a Premier League striker, he is a really good finisher. He just needs a constant run in the team, good players alongside him, and to stay injury-free. This one I think is going to go quite well for Newcastle, although I'm not sure he's the man to get 20 to 25 and fire them into the European race. So there you have it. There are 10 players to look out for this season. Again, They're not the best transfers, not the worst, just 10 of the ones I think you should look out for. What about you guys though? Let me know how you think these players will do and which other transfers, new players, we should be looking out for in the upcoming season. As always, make sure you smash the like button down below and click here or here to check out all of the other videos we've got going on Onefootball. But until next time, I'll see you guys later.